So team, welcome back. Day 3 or part 3 for our Python API automation. And we're continuing this as part of a QA to AI training program. So a lot of things eventually will start migrating towards AI within our training program as well. So what we were doing yesterday and what will we do today? We were playing around with the basics of APIs, how we use PI requests to be able to interact with external APIs, able to send a request, verify response, and so on. What we were trying to do was our approach towards parameterization, and that is something we have taken to a little good extent in yesterday's session. So once we imported our request, we were able to work with APIs, and we have kind of segregated our input. There are URL related, and there's a method and payload in case there is a JSON file or something that is needed. Then we're making a request, either a GET or a POST, depending on what it is. So the challenge with this program is it is very linear. If I have a dozen or 100 endpoints, I all have to kind of put them somewhere. So I don't want to keep them as part of my internal data. So that is where we'll focus today on externalizing this data. All right. One great resource that I want you to keep access to is W3 School's Python tutorial. You get a lot of basic fundamental syntax for the programming language. But when we get to Pandas, we will also start using the Pandas side of things. Out here in Python, as you explore, as you start programming and face challenges, you will notice the area where it starts coming towards list, tuple sets, and dictionaries. So primarily, we hold something like an array kind of a data where it specifically you have one variable name and then you have a collection of data that is available to you in a single location. And you primarily are looking at it as index to be able to go through it. So the syntax is very simple. All we're doing is just giving the values of the data. Unlike JSON, where we have a key value pair, here it is just the value that we're giving. And we're saying that apple, banana, cherry, that's in the first 3 positions, that's all. And you can do a lot of things with it. The primary difference that you can see are things like, are you able to put them in an order and are you able to change them, or are there duplicates in it? There are 4 types of data collection that we can see within Python that is inbuilt. And then we're looking at Pandas. So there's a lot that we can do. So this is a small write-up team that gives a very simple perspective of what is the difference between a list, tuple, set, and a dictionary. So primarily, list is something that is ordered, and you can change the values at any time. And you can also have duplicate members in the same list. That is the primary description of a list. Tuple gets changed where once you put the values in it, you cannot change them. Set is where the collection is unordered and unchangeable and unindexed. You cannot have duplicate members. Same with dictionary, but dictionary is more of ordered and changeable. So each one, as you see, list is with a square bracket. When you come to tuples, you use a curve bracket. That is basically saying that I can no longer change the items within it. You can read from it, but you can't write back. It's kind of a fixed set for you. Set is the one with curl brackets where you cannot order it. If there's no order to it, or you cannot change or unindex. So it's just got a collection of data. It doesn't matter which order it is in. Various types of data that is present for us to use. Dictionaries get a little bit more closer to us. Loading, where you see the JSON type of format coming in, and you'll notice that it's got a key value pair. So there is a key or a name of that attribute or variable, and there's a value to it. That's the key value pair through which we're storing the data. Very similar to JSON. It's in fact the same format that it is using. There's nothing different. We can call it as a dictionary item or a JSON. So in our case, what we were doing is we created a JSON data out here, JSON object, and it basically contains some details that we're able to send forward. The single quotes, double quotes don't bother too much team as long as it is being accepted, but try and maintain the same format any way we can. We were also doing our externalization of j1.json, saying why should the j1 be within the what is on this format. Let me see. I'm definitely doing something not correct in here. Look at yeah, primarily I think the main thing is this is just data. I'm not trying to assign variables into it again, so I don't need a J1 equal. All we're saying is the whole thing is J1.json and it is there as a file. That's about it. So I put that there and I think it is also save mode. So it's got saved. Let's go back to the code. We've not come to exploring the J1.json. We're just looking at the code as is for now. All right. Then we have output, status code, and output body that we're getting. Okay. So now what we're going to do, team, is we're going to try and look at the whole concept of Pandas. So Pandas is an external library that has been introduced into Python, and that helps primarily with anything that you can do with data. So when we have data, there are a lot of common operations that we do, like cleaning of data, the wrong formats or duplicates, or you need to look at what to do with empty cells. It gives you all the input, inbuilt features to be able to work with data that way. It gives you also things like DataFrame, Pandas series, which is a single dimensional array or a multi-dimensional array. With which you can read CSVs, you can read JSON, and do a lot of other things. Finally, you're able to do things like plotting. You can put plots to be able to show scatter or how normalization is being done within the data and what the correlations are. It's a very, very simple library that we will learn, and it may look a little complex to begin with, but as you keep using it, it is very straightforward. In this, hardly anything much to do it in this. All you need to do is install and get started. So we're going to do Pandas today a little bit, get started with it, and continue with it tomorrow. So where are we? So we're looking at Python collections arrays. I want you to have the link from W3. Let me put that for you. Python dictionary. How's the practice going, team? Did you get enough content to practice yet or not yet? I don't like size for each of this. What I'll do, selected them all. Sorry, give me a second. Okay. Python Panda. That's where I'm going now. And let's go to the next topic in here. Just a few things that I want to show you there, Steve, and then we can get going. So a lot of introductions, things like average, minimum, maximum, or correlation between columns, all of that. The whole Pandas um, library itself is then GitHub as a code base. That is where we're primarily importing it from. But what we need to do is the installation. We'll do first the installation. Let's install Pandas. And in fact, the name also is very unique. It's primarily about data and data storage, data sets, and so on. And there we go. All right. So installation of Pandas. So your tip is primarily your installer team, Python installer program. So any package that you have within Python, you could be able to install Pip. So if Pip is existing or not, you can go to your terminal out here. Where is my terminal? Console. That should be the terminal. Okay. Pip. We're primarily looking at the version number and the features. PyCharm allow. We're looking at version and then Pip install. It should automatically be installed when you set up your Python environment. So this is the current version of the installer package installer that we have, 23.21. So with this, I can just do a pip install Pandas. That is the command to install pip onto our local environment. So pip install. I do need camel cake for this. Oh, I went to pip. That's the reason I'm supposed to say Pandas. And pip install Pandas, then import Pandas, and this is primarily what it is. Let's install Pandas first. And it should be able to download a few packages if needed, if it doesn't already exist, and give us a message about what happened after the installation. So once installation is done, we'll do a and CD and data frame. So data frame is the main thing where we're using it for multidimensional, like we're doing in this case. I'm going to copy this code team just to see if everything is working, and then we'll start using it in our own. There we go. So looks like everything is a success. I don't see any red. Downloaded all the required packages that are needed, and that should have been installed. So to test it out, let's do a quick one. 03 and so slow. Come on. Still says it's indexing. It is doing something in the background. I'm going to let it do. Let that happen. What I'm going to do is go back to my Google Drive, and out here, what we will need now is a small Excel or a CSV sheet where we start storing our data, and then we can hopefully read that. So I'm going to create a new spreadsheet, and we will later download it as a CSV if it is only single sheet. If we have multiple sheets, then maybe a spreadsheet like Excel. Let's just call this as Panda 1. All right. So what inputs do I want to put? Let's focus on the API section or itself of it, Panda 1 hyphen API. So I want to keep multiple APIs here. So I'll say there's a base URL. Let base URL be the second column. First column, I'll just say what is the test case ID or a number. There's a base URL, there's a path. Based on the, once we concatenate them, we'll get the endpoint URL. Then there is a method or action, and there may be a payload. There'll also be authentication and tokens that we will work with team as the next one. There'll be a lot of APIs that won't let you just send them any requests. You need to verify and confirm who you are to them, post which they're able to give you. So these become my input. I'll just put them in a different color. All right. Now, what will my output be? Output is, one is expected status code. Expected status. Then there's the actual status. Time taken is something you can measure easily. And if there's a body, you can also get this. Now, only these three are output. Your expected status, is that an output or an input? Anyone? Is expected status an input or an output? As the test case ID is irrelevant. It's output. It's something that is holding everything. Yeah? Yes, right. This is an input for us. Are you all with me, everyone? Please be active, participative. I'll just take paint format. Perfect. All right. So this is my data team. So let's put some information. So I'll say this is 1, or I can always say TC001, TC002, TC003. Let's put one more for now, 004. And my base URL, in this case, let's take anything simple. So your base URL could be any of the data that we're using here, or any URL that we can take here. Control C, Control V. And this is the same URL, let's say, for all of these. And here, let's say instead of request.n, we'll go to something like cbc.com and see what it gets for us. All right. So that's my here. Okay. Path. So path, there was the, so I have a path 1 here for get. I'm copying this. I don't need the entire path in the beauty of this design itself. API, okay. What is the other one? That is get in 200. This is get, and my expected status is 200. How about the post? I don't need the entire link address. That's fine. Page 2. Is the same page, is it? No, how can it be? This is the list of all users. This is post. Oops. And what am I getting as a confirmation for successful post and the payload? 200, and this is my input payload. You make an error in the input payload, your expected status will also vary too. So that could be another one. This is 200. Let's say do the same, but this time totally change the data. I can give any value to the name, any value to the job title. But if I change the key itself, like job 1 or 11, name 11, that may not exist in the API to be able to handle this type of a key that is going in. So it should give a totally different value for us. It won't be a 200. So what will we get? Let's look at it. bbc.com, I don't have any path, so there's nothing to append. I'll just say get, nothing to use as a payload. I'm expecting status to be 201 or 200. Now, here is my data team. What I intend to do is read this information like a Panda as a data frame within our code and be able to execute it one by one instead of hard coding everything in the document itself. So this gets me a little bit more better organized, and that is what we'll focus on. Anything that is slowing me down, let's try and close it out. Let's come back here, trying to create a new. Are we doing Python for yes? 03. And I don't think I need to give the experience because it's already recording as a Python file. I still want to make sure that it's there. Okay. So we got that here, team. So now that we have already, it's also suggesting for a new version of SIP that is available, 24.3.1 instead of 23.2.1. I'm okay for it right now. Otherwise, we can upgrade the SIP version, which is our package installer, to the latest. Where is, and that's getting started. This is the code. Let's save this. So import pandas, that is what we're saying. We may have so many libraries and packages, but what at which time that do we need, we do not know. And that is the reason we import packages or libraries that we wish to use in our program before, but specifically for each code that we write. All right. So as simple as the output is, import pandas. My data set is like a JSON object or a data structure that basically stores key value pair. Cars has different types of cars that is given as a list. Parsings also are different types of parsing that is given as a list. It's basically you're sitting at an intersection and seeing what cars are going and how many of them have gone through cars here. And that is what this program is doing. And finally, everything is there. When I use this whole thing called Pandas, so I can do import Pandas as is, or I can say import Pandas as anything that I want. Typically, there's a PD as a constant way of doing things within Python world. So instead of referring to it as a large Pandas, you can just say PD dot, and it should be doing the same thing. As soon as you say Pandas, which is a library to help you with uh, doing amazing stuff with data, you would notice that there's a lot of things that you could work with a team. Coming up below, the data frame, PD. And then that's just the beginning of it. But when we get to actual usage of it, you'll see a lot of things happening. How we can fill NA or drop NA, blank field, so on, and read JSON or read SQL, read XML. So a lot of things can be read very easily with it. What we are trying to do is within Pandas, so you've seen this. Next is Pandas series. Series is nothing but instead of saying dot data frame, pd dot data frame, we say pd dot series. As long as it's a single list, it's like a column in a table or one-dimensional array, you can hold it in a series. At any point, you can say that I want a value at a specific index. Just like a position in an array or anything else that we've seen, your index starts with 0. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So any point you can print any of these values that you're interested to your team. In this case, if it's a series, I'm not writing any series, we're not using it now. You can just say which index. You can change the index if you want, do a bunch of things and so on. But primarily, series is a single dimensional. Data frame is the most popular one that we all use regularly, where you have this 2 dimension. And you're able to do the similar stuff, you just have a lot more information. Location is an important one thing. That basically gives you a location of an entire row, or you can give a specific cell, row, and a column. I think this is row 0 and row 0 and 1. The list of indexes, named indexes. Okay. Again, you can change the name of the indexes instead of 0, 1, 2. You'll say day 1, day 2, day 3. But I just definitely want to put a location. And so we put this. That's very my var. I don't like my var and just say V1. Come on, the system is very slow. Network improved, but the system itself. I did a restart too. Okay. And what we're saying with that location thing is print V1. It's almost impossible to type this there. Let me see if I'm able to close any windows and make it any better. Nothing that is open is in fact pulling too much data. That is surprising. Okay. We're just printing PD dot. What is DF? DF is this data frame. Okay. In this case, V1 and location. Let's print that just to get location. In square bracket 0. That's going to print the first row. So first row is basically BMW and then number 3T. So this is first column. This is the next column. So this will be first row, Volvo is second row, and Ford is the third row. That is what we are looking at here. So right click and run this code. There you go. So cars, BMW, passing 3. So when it is 0, comma 2, let's see what happens. I think it went over the limit because it doesn't have the third attribute here. So let's 0, comma 1. I think it is the syntax. Let's see. What did I do here? Double square bracket. 0, comma 1. Square bracket. Simple syntax thing. Even if you don't remember everything perfectly, it will be easy for you to quickly figure out while debugging. All right. So that's that. So 0, it's printed, and printed 1 as well. Keep this for reference for us. Yeah, nice. Okay, perfect. Now what are we doing? Now we're talking about what if we have a CSV data or an Excel data and we want to read it, and that's in a file. So first things first, let me save this as a CSV data. Okay, save or download this as a CSV. I'll put it on my local machine and then I'll get a link to it. I want to put it in the same folder where my Python project is. Let's go to the folder where the project is. Right click, find in file, open in Explorer. I'm sorry. The name itself is Python project. Okay. There's my CSV downloaded API one. Wow, that's a big name. Let me put it here. That's where my JSON is also. And long name, I'll just say API dot JSON for now. Sorry, API dot CSV. All right. Okay, perfect. So I have this. I have this complete path to it. Let's see. Properties, and I should find actually security details. All right. So either we use an escape character with 2 backslashes, or just use a forward slash for your path. That should solve this. In fact, I don't need to use a path because in my local directory, it can be relative path also that I can use. But let me use the perfect complete path so I have a clarity of what to say. All right. So what are we going to do now? We're going to try and read it out of Python as a data frame. So to be able to read CSV, DataFrame has a built-in method that will be pretty easy for us. So we have a CSV that we created. This is giving us sample one, and for us, this is it. Um, the reason it is asking to do string is for a print output. That's in my file. I'm still using PD, the same data frame, but here read CSV I'm saying is this variable C. I will repeat the path in there, yeah. And here, instead of data frame, I'm saying my file. Does my file now have the details of what I want? So I'm expecting it to have all the details that we put in the spreadsheet. Is it is not available or not applicable? And we have the column name 0123 is not something we wrote in. This is the indexes by default. It is provided with every data frame. What we have is a column for each of the keys that we gave in the first, and then it's followed by everything else. Perfect. So now we have come till the extent where you've got the total details. You might want to know the number of rows. The reason being, for us, you might do something called as a looping routine. So we'll go through a for loop to be able to read JSON. Read JSON is it's easy. We'll come to dictionary as JSON as well. Let me get it back here. The toString is done. Now let's navigate to. We're not doing anything on cleaning data and empty cells right now. But what I'm trying to do is take one row at a time out here. Read a specific key value. Okay, let me go here. 5 Panda read specific cell from data. So what we're trying to do is go through each cell team, how to get cell value. So with cell value, how do we go through and understand what is, so first we know what's the maximum rows, and then we go through each row. Let's see, does it have anything? All right, there you go. This is data, whatever it gave, and location, data.index0, it is ID. Oh, it's very slow. I'm sorry about that. All right. So here, what is the difference for us? Um, when we see here ID, name, and subject, those are the key values within which you can index anything that you want, and you're able to get that specific value. So for us, case ID, base, path, and method are these. So if I say this is my file, and the first attribute that I'm giving here is test case ID. Make sure the font, everything is matches screen. And then if I'm saying location data.index0, this data. Again, I'm using my file.index data.id. Index is location. What if I just give a 0? That's fine. My file index is 0. So that would give me just the first row to you. That is the intent at this point. My key response are happening like 10, 15 seconds later. So let's comment this and just print this. And see if it is getting me the first row and only the test case ID. What I was trying to do here, Python dictionary. Let's now look at maybe it's actually while loop is better, but for loop is fine because we can know the maximum number of rows in it. So if I know exactly, I can go through each and every cell. But if I know the maximum rows and I want to treat it like that, I can also just go based on a range. So once I know the range, it is going 0 to 5 out here. If I just say range 6, or I can go to specific range out here, or increment based on that. Okay, where are we? What is the print CC001? Where did this come from? This came from a CSV. That is the first value. So if I know the maximum rows, then I can go through and read each value within a key. So if you remember, we have the max underscore rows. Options dot display. Wow, big one. See, I use the same PD first for this data frame, but I overrode it with this CSV. What I'll do is max row equals PD dot PD dot options display dot max row. So print max R. We get a perspective of how many we have. Then we loop through it. You're getting what we're doing, team? Once we do this, we are able to go back and apply it to our API and try and execute the same using this. Did you give me 60 rows? No way. I think it did. Wow. And the reason of what I'm doing is primarily that there are a lot of empty rows. The Google Sheet just took it up that way, is what I'm doubting as of now. But let's see. All right. So we've got this. We've got rows. I don't need all of them, but what I need is for I in range of max R. So max R, let's say if it is 60, it will start with 0 and go till 59. What are we trying to do within this? I'm only trying to print this. As of now, I'll just say variable test case equals my file. I'm getting my data into proper parameters so I can use it later. Index 0 is the row T. So this I'm not going to hard code anymore, and I'll say this is I. This is variable TC. This is my variable base, or let's say endpoint variable EP is what base plus path. So I have my base URL and the path. Both I'm going to append together. Here I'm just saying it is path. And then we have the method, the method equals method. I don't have payload yet. I'll just say bpay equals same thing. And I say this is payload. So I've got my output here. Later, what we will do, so we're reading it from the CSV onto local variables and iterating to each one. So these are my input parameters. API request. Then my next step would be send a request, make API call. That's what we're doing. And then finally fetch the response onto local variable. Finally test and update. Yes. Perfect. This is what we'll achieve, team. So as of now, we're seeing if we're able to read all that I want with the BCC, the EP. There's no space also that I'm using team as I said, printing out what we need. There we say. There. So it should be printing out 60 rows since that is what I got. What we've not done is cleanup of this where we've deleted empty rows and so on. We'll do that also. So today and tomorrow, I think it will be good coverage on Pandas. We're going to finish most of this API programming there. Then we will also enter a little bit more around API testing. Once we get the basic fundamentals, a lot of other things will be. All right, let's see. Line 28. So 27 was okay. What did it print here? Test case 1. So where is 600 here? Then the entire table. This is test case. So it did TC001. Perfect. So this is what I've got. This is surprised. This is the one. I didn't use concatenation, just a comma. Be able to divide and protect that. Okay. So it can only concatenate string, not float. I think there's a number somewhere. So one of these had a number, and I need to do a toString. So unless I do a toString, it won't happen. So here, the base and the path, it's not able to concatenate. But only one case. This is not for the first one. It did input these test case 1, test case 2, test case 3. Test case 4 is where I think it faced the problem. So let's see what is there in test case 4. Where is the blank? And these are the ones that data frames will help us see. There is a blank here, and that is where it could end. What if it's blank? What do you do? So how do you handle it? These are the important. That's fine. So team, that's about it for today. We're progressing slow, but I think we're getting there. Once we finish with API, we'll start looking at maybe UI automation also in a similar way, and how we can build some more bots using AI ML concepts and explore more. Practice on these teams. I'm also putting the Google Doc up. You have the, where's my Google Doc? Okay, I'm all over the place. So here, and I also gave you the link to where the videos are. I started putting them in YouTube also just in case you wanted quicker access, since this is still the initial one. But look at the hosting link that I put on each of you. Copy the link URL, put it in chat for all of you. And any questions, please, for today? I know some of you are practicing and reaching out based on that. You're welcome to share your screen. I'm also planning to start the project very soon, maybe at a even daytime rather than the evening time, which is the current schedule. So the reason I'm doing that is I think now we're getting with the basic information that will help us go forward. So I put it in this location team. So yesterday's is here, day before, day 3 was here, or the previous one. I'll put also the next one here and also in the YouTube channel. Thanks all. Bye for now. Have a good one. We'll see you back tomorrow. Same time, same link. Thank you.